Welcome to Chapter 11, Section 3, entitled Subtracting Integers. Alright, the key concept, subtracting integers. To subtract an integer, add its opposite. Okay, this is basically what you'll hear me say is you'll hear me say minus a minus, or you might hear me say adding a negative. Okay. So, let's take a look at here. So 8 minus 5. There's two methods here. You're going to use counters, like we did for the adding. And so, place 8 positive counters on the mat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then remove 5 positive counters. So using counters. So you're basically doing you have plus 8, subtracting plus 5. That means you're taking away take away 5. Now, add the opposites. That means 8 minus 5 equals 8 plus negative 5. So to subtract 5, you could add negative 5. And once you think of this as being the opposites, well, let's do 8 positives, counters. 8 positives. And let's add to it 5 negatives. And when that happens, remember that each positive negative cancels out, becomes a 0. And so the only thing that's left is 3 positives. So 8 minus 5 is 3. So again, you can use just counters and think of it as subtracting positives, or you can think of adding negatives and then canceling things out. All right, you could also use a number line. This is a third way, using a number line. So start at 0. Start at 0, and we have a positive 5, or positive 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're right here at 8. Then we're doing a minus 5, so we got to go the other direction, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was a plus 8. This was a minus 5. And now my answer is 3. So counters, adding the opposite, number lines, all of those are good ways to help you subtract positive integers. So 9 minus 2. So here are 9 positives. So this is plus 9. We're subtracting 2 of them. So there's minus 1, minus 2. And now my final answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could think about the other way. You could think about this as being 9 plus negative 2. Plus negative 2 means if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I had, so 9 positives and 2 negatives, then these would cancel, so this is what we have left over. Positive 7. On a number line, you would start at 0 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you would subtract 2 and still get an answer of 7. Okay, now if you are subtracting a negative integer, you can use counters again. So place 7 negative counters on the mat to show -7. Then remove 2 of those negative counters because we've got -7. We're taking away 2 negatives, which leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. Negative counters. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative counters left. You could add the opposite, minus a minus. This is where I said I might say minus a minus is the same thing as plusing. So -7 plus 2. Well, let's think about our numbers again. Let's start with minuses. We have 7 minuses. 7 minuses. We've got 2 pluses. Those pluses and a minus cancel out, which leaves us with 5 negatives. So adding the opposite when it's minus a minus. Think about the number line. How is subtracting negative integers similar to adding positive integers? When I think about adding and subtracting negative things, I actually like to think about the emotion behind positive and negative things. How is subtracting negative integers similar to adding positive integers? Well, if you're subtracting negative numbers, it's the same as getting rid of negative feelings. So subtracting negative numbers is the same as getting rid of negative feelings. When you get rid of negative feelings, you become more positive. So when you are subtracting negative, you are really becoming more positive. So that's how I like to think about it, emotions. All right, now back to here, this example here. If we used a number line, we would start at 0, and we would go 1, 2, 3, 4 to -7. And since we're adding 2, we're going to end up going to the right, and that's why -5 is your correct answer. All right, so check your progress. For this one, I like minus a minus. That would be -8 plus 5. That tells me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each of a pair cancels out. So what's left is 3 negatives. You could use counters a number of ways. This is probably the best. Checking on a number line, we're going to start, here's 0, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to -8, and then add 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's why -3 is your answer. All right, so here's method 1. There's another. Now we're doing negative and a negative again. Place 3 negative counters for the negative to show negative 3. Since there are no positive counters, add 5. So remember, negative 3 can be written as plus a negative 5. And so you add 5 more. You're basically adding another negative, adding a negative, adding a negative, adding a negative, adding a negative. And now, how many total negatives? How many negatives are there now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Negative 6 minus 1, you might want to make it negative 6 plus negative 1. Negative 6 plus negative 1. How many negatives altogether? Negative, 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 negative. And another negative for that. Adding them together gives me negative 7. Probably the easiest way to see this happen is to draw a number line. Start at 0 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left. And then it says we're minusing 1, so we're going to go 1 more to the left, which means my answer is negative 7. Parts of Death Valley in California are below sea level. A hiker starts at an elevation of 12 feet above sea level. Then she hikes to an elevation of 8 feet below sea level. What is the difference between the two elevations? Okay. Difference means subtraction. Difference means subtraction. So we're going to take the first number and we're going to subtract the next number. And we have to think about this. Above sea level and below sea level. At below sea level means a negative number. Means a negative number. So that's 12 minus, for the difference, minus 8 feet below. So minus a minus changes to 12 plus 8, which is 20. Yesterday's low temperature was 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Today's low temperature is negative 3. What is the difference between them? Difference, again, is subtraction. We start with the first number, and we subtract the next number. 5 degrees minus 3 degrees is the same as 5 plus 3. So the question is, there's a answer to the question is that there is 8 degrees difference between these two temperatures. All right, so for 11.3, you need to do on page 585, problems number 1 to 7, all for your CYUs. And once you do those, this is what our classwork will be.